My topic this afternoon is life lessons in leadership. I want to let you know that I feel very fortunate and very honored to be here with you today. When I woke up this morning here in the hotel room, I said to myself, it's going to be a very good day today. And as I thought about my topic, life lessons in leadership, I said to myself, there are several different important things that I want to get across to the room this afternoon here in Chicago. First, I want to take a few minutes for us to think about how important leadership skills really are. Have any of you ever had the experience of working for someone who was in a leadership position with a leadership title, but they did not have leadership skills? Ah, yes, absolutely. I too have had the experiences of working for people who were wonderful leaders, who had the skills that we needed. But unfortunately in society and many different aspects of our lives, there are people in leadership positions without leadership skills. I do several things for a living currently. One, I'm an attorney down in Austin, Texas, where I live. I've been in private practice for about 6 years, and I handle business law and entertainment law cases. In my law practice, I thought that I'd seen it all. And I encountered a couple of people that came to my office that told me about their bosses and their managers that did not have leadership skills. I had one woman who was a manager at a major airline, and the supervisor took her team on a retreat. Good idea. Unfortunately, the supervisor, while they're on this retreat for team building, has quite a few drinks at dinner the first night. And the supervisor, unfortunately, ended up, allegedly, naked and drunk in a hot tub there on the premises of the retreat with the people they supervise. Is that an example of good leadership skills? No, I do not think so. Every time I think I've heard and seen it all, I find another experience. And as I've had the opportunity and been fortunate enough to travel around the country and to train and to consult, and the purpose mostly of my training and consulting is like many other people, I'm passionate about motivation and inspiring and lifting people up. But the other thing that I train on is I specifically focus on how can we prevent lawsuits. I specialize in litigation mitigation. And as I've traveled around training and consulting, I've run into supervisors. I had one HR director that would sit in her office, and she would gossip with the people she supervised about ongoing HR investigations. Good leadership skills? No, I do not think so. And every day I read the paper, and there's a new example in our country of poor leadership. Have any of you heard of a company out of Houston, Texas called Enron? Allegedly there we had some challenges with our leadership skills with our accounting. Have any of you heard of a company called WorldCom? Allegedly we had some challenges with our leadership skills. So as I sat here today and I was thinking about my topic, we all know how important leadership is, and we know what the consequences of poor leadership are. Consequences of poor leadership are lawsuits, people lose their jobs, and businesses go under. And I've studied leadership. Like many of us, I went to business school, and I studied leadership in business school, talked about leadership in law school. I've taught business law, and I've had the experience from an academic perspective of looking at leadership. But I wanted us today to take a few minutes to look at leadership from a different perspective. Not just a textbook academic, what we're supposed to do, but let's look at it, and I was curious to see if there were any leadership skills that I could learn from just life, from my own life. Is leadership important in our personal lives? Do you need to have parents who have leadership skills for a family to succeed? I would think that you do. So I stopped and I thought there must be another way that I can find some of these leadership skills, and I can answer the question of what makes a leader. And I thought about an aunt of mine. My mother's sister. My mother's from a family of 6 kids, and my mother's sister, my aunt, she had some challenges in life. She was widowed at 25. Her husband was killed. And she was a single mother. And she didn't have any education, and she didn't have any money. Do you think that she could have given up at that point? Easily. Life hadn't been maybe fair to her. But she had something that you must have to be a successful leader. She had something called vision. And even though she didn't have any connections, and she didn't have any money, and she didn't have any role models to show her a way, she made some choices. And she put herself through school as a single mother. She moved back home with my grandmother, and she worked very hard. And eventually, she became a judge. Finished law school and became a judge. Served as a judge for over 20 years in Fort Worth, Texas. We were all very, very proud of her. Life looked like it was going well because she had the ability to dream and to have that vision for herself. And then one day, in the 1980s, there she was at work as a judge, and she was a family law judge. She presided over divorces, things of that nature. Apparently, there was someone who'd come to her court and he wasn't happy about his divorce. Does that ever happen? Yes, it does. And so this gentleman came back down to the courthouse, still unhappy about what my aunt had made the decision in the case, and he showed up at the courthouse with some guns, and he entered the courthouse and started shooting. And as he walked down the courthouse corridor, he made statements. I'm here to go see Judge Hicks. That's her name. I'm here to kill her. And he shot and killed 6 people on his way to her office. Could that have made her give up? Being at work, losing 6 of your coworkers, and having someone there purposely trying to kill you. He was stopped before he killed my aunt. It could have, but she still had that vision. Where does vision come from? It comes from ourselves. And even though that was another challenge life had thrown her way, she had the vision, and she kept going. And she's still a judge today. She doesn't quit. I've seen it in my own life. What makes a leader? Vision. And then I stopped and I thought to myself, are there any other examples about leadership, life lessons that I've learned? And I was thinking about someone who I've seen almost every day of my life, my father. And I'm what's affectionately called sometimes an army brat. What that means is my father was in the military my entire life growing up. He served 26 years in the U.S. Army. He just retired very, very recently. And I never realized, growing up, the sacrifices that he made. Was he a rich man in the military? No. No, but for 26 years, my father worked in tanks. That's what he did for a living. And he put food on our table, and he fed us. And he would be gone for months at a time sometimes, and I didn't understand what was he doing. Only as I've become older and talked to him, he's told me that he was out in the field, training, sleeping in the mud. My father has a skill that's necessary for leadership. He actually has 2 of them: ethics and strength. My father had some tough times in life. Challenges come along. And at one point, his marriage had some problems, and our family had some problems. And my father had to go out, and we had financial problems. And in addition to continuing to work every single day in the military, he took a nighttime job as a security guard for minimum wage and worked another 30 hours a week at that job. He did that because he has these ethics. He could have made excuses, but he rose to the occasion. So what else makes a leader? Ethics. Do we have any challenges in society right now with ethics? Do you have any people in leadership positions not utilizing appropriate ethics? I think we do. And then I asked myself, because I have a broad range of experience in the area of leadership. I know the academics and the studies and what are the best business policies to utilize. And I thought about what would be one of the most important, or the most important leadership life lessons I've learned. And this one I actually learned from my grandfather. And my grandfather spent his entire life as a cook. He didn't even have a high school education. And he was a World War II veteran. He served in the military as a cook. And my grandfather, I honestly can say, but I never ever saw him lose his temper. I never saw him berate or humiliate anyone. Have any of you ever worked for a supervisor or a boss who loses their temper? Yes, I've recently worked with some clients. I have one manager, I've been working with his organization. He will sit in his office, and when he gets apparently stressed out or unhappy, he will take up office supplies off of his desk, like staplers, and he will hurl them across the room and throw them at people. Good management skills? No, I don't think so. We also have many organizations where I work with people who, at work, the manager will use obscenities, will curse people out, humiliate, and degrade them. The lesson that I learned from my grandfather that's very important for all of us in our lives in terms of leadership is the idea of legacy. We all, in every leadership role that we take, whether it's as a parent, or as a manager, or it's with a friend, we all leave a legacy to the choices that we make. And my grandfather passed away a few years ago. And when I think about his life and the leadership skills that he showed me it is possible to be professional, even with your family, even when they make you mad. And he showed me it is possible to leave behind a leadership legacy that's positive. And I've done everything I can to try to take the steps to ensure that I leave a leadership legacy that's also important. It has been a pleasure and a privilege to be here with you today.